Okay, now on the engine, we went ahead and we plumbed the lines that go to the filter. I made this little bracket right here to go in behind the alternator bolt and then all the way down to the fuel pump there. I've also ran all the wires. We got this little keeper that runs up all the way around to the back and to the other side with the keeper there. This piece right here goes to the booster. Now that I took off of a great old big, like 2-ton truck, big dump truck, and I thought it looked really nice. So I added that to the intake. And still don't got a starter. Starter was bad, so we got to get the starter. I think it came in today, but I got to get that. So I went ahead and put the transmission back in, got all the exhaust ran. So there it is, right there as it sits. Now we have this body over here. It's in some pretty rough shape. I've already got all the bottom finished. That's going to be the color of the car. It's going to be green. Firewall is finished, and the cowl. So we're about to get this body in here, get it up in the air off this rotisserie, and we're going to get this body down on there for good. Okay, now we've got the body sitting on the frame for the first time with everything all painted on the bottom and the firewall finished in. So you can get a good look at it now under the hood. I ran, now that it's light in here, you can really see where I ran all the wires through and up to the back. Now this goes to the clutch master. It's a hydraulic clutch system. So that's what that's from. And I ran all the wires around real neatly. On both sides. Of course, you'll notice it's different. Spark plugs, they're coming forward, or on this side they're going backwards. So it still runs in, just has a little bit of a longer wire on this side from where they're angled different. I got heat wrap on the rear one because it's closer to the header, so that right there keep the heat off the plug. And we've got pretty good clearance. Now we go on the inside, right here, all the way around the shift boot. So everything's lining up good. Of course, I've already shot everything up here and the firewall. But now I got to get it in the air. I'm gonna go ahead and put all the bolts in, get the body lined up just the best I can. Not fully secure the body. I'm gonna leave the body loose, because I'm going to get the radiator support bolted in right here. I'm going to get the fenders bolted on the car and get the hood bolted on the car. That way I can make sure that the car and the doors is square going off the hood. So making sure the hood lines up properly with each back corner, the door and the fender. And once I make sure that's lined up properly, the front end of these cars, you can shift them left or right. You can get them out of adjustment really bad. So make sure I'll leave everything loose. I'll line the doors up according to the bottom of the rocker and right here on the A-pillar, and then check to make sure my quarters line up, which I don't know if they will. They probably won't because nothing's lined up. But I'll get the doors on, get the fenders on, hood and everything, so that I can make sure my core support's in the right spot and my body is angled in the right spot and with the hood. So it'll make sure everything's square. And once everything's square, I'll button down the bolts up here. I'll button down the body bolts. Then I can start working all the body panels, making sure that the flushness all the way down the doors is correct, and I'll fix the rear. Now I'll go to the rear and I'll show you how screwed up it is. Okay, now, looking back here, you can see way off. Over here, way off. But the problem is, if you was to move the trunk lid back to get this gap, there's no way to adjust the trunk lid here to move forward. So this whole back section of this car right here is pushed that way. So I'm gonna cut all the quarters loose, the rear taillight panel, because it's supposed to sit flush here. And I'll take all this loose and I'll get these quarter panels and I'll weld this right here to this side. I'll weld that to that side flush. And then with the strap, I can pull the quarters, the whole back of the car this way. And then once I get that gap right there square, then I can just go ahead and start welding it to that lower floor pan in the rear. So that's where I'm at on the Chevelle. Now we've already test fired the engine. We've checked, we made sure everything was oiling. We went ahead, pulled the plugs out. It's got a lot of compression, so just to turn it over by hand, got to pull the plugs out. Readjusted all the rockers, got them ready. They're ready to rock and roll. So we'll go ahead, we'll get the Saginaw pump on here, get all the pump lines ran. I will put the steering column in where it needs to go and put the boot, everything in here for the steering column. I got the, for the brakes, go right over here, and this will be the brake system. This rod right here is not long enough, so I'm going to have to put the nut on there and extend that rod out. Now this one, you know, this has a very long rod, but it's not too pretty. So to match everything under the hood, chrome, that'll be chrome, and it should tie in pretty well. But as for where the clutch master is going to go for the hydraulic system, it's going to have to go somewhere in this general area, somewhere right in here. Now with the booster in the way, wiring harness here is going to be in the way. It's going to be tricky to figure out where to put that. So I don't know if I've got enough room to mount it under the dash and just run the reservoir out to the outside. I'll have to study about that one. Of course, originally the proportioning valve was down here, mounted on the side of the frame, right here. But as you can tell, the headers, there's not going to be any proportioning valve mounted there. So I'm going to tie into the brake lines and run them up to where the proportioning valve is right here, which mounts right off the reservoir. So a little bit cleaner, nicer. Okay, now moving on to the doors. I got the new bolts, new hinges on, and I've got it right where it should be, right up here on the top by the A-pillar, and on the bottom, right where it's supposed to be, right here. I got the gap where it needs to be on the bottom of the rocker. And then up here, the gap is pretty close to where it needs to be. Getting the bottom where it needs to be right there. Looking all the way up. It's pretty good, except for right here. The quarter sticks out a little bit. Right here, whoever put these quarters on, they, see if we can zoom in. They left the original, it's dark original. They left the original quarter and welded the new one on top of it. So that's the reason why it's all jacked up. The quarter panel sticking out a little too far. But the door's on the car and it actually fits pretty decent. I'm gonna have to wipe body filler along this whole quarter and door to make sure those gaps are perfect. Put a string in there and pull the string out while the body filler's still wet to keep my gap. Up here, when they welded it on, I don't know what they did here, but they cut the drip rail and stretched it out because the quarter panel wasn't, this should be in here and it's not. So I'm gonna cut all this crap right here that they've done to it and cut this quarter panel loose up here and try to address this and fix this issue here. This is not an issue. Got this straightened out, got the door where it needs to be, lined up. I'm going to the inside. You can see all the way down right here, it's the same, so it looks good right there. I still got to go to the other side and get the other one mounted, but every little thing I've been doing on this car, every time I do something, there's been something else that's really out of whack that's got to be fixed. So it would have been a whole lot easier if I had the car before all this metal work was done and I got to do all this myself, because I could have done it, you know, where it should have been. But now I'm having to go over somebody's work and fix it. I'm not talking bad about them. You know, that's probably the best they were able to do. But it's not right. It needs to be fixed. So definitely got to cut the back loose, cut the top loose, and fix it. Fix the back. This whole back section's got to come over. So a lot left to do on that side. So I guess I'll go ahead and get to now. We're gonna go ahead, get the other one on. Let's go ahead and check it out. I got this other door on. Granted, this one's not fit as well as the other side just yet. But you can see here, this is way off. I could stick my hand in between this gap. Way up until I get to the top. And then right here at the top it's touching. So I'll cut this quarter panel way up here, and I'll push this door jamb right here back to open up this gap to level with the door. Perfect. Weld it back up, and then I'll push this door back even further to get that gap right. But that's the best I can get it right here well, it's the best you can get it. There ain't nothing much you can do for it because it's hitting. So I'm going to have to go ahead and cut this quarter panel right here, move this back, weld it back up, and I can push the door back to fix that gap. But that's where I'm at on it. That's going to be it for this segment of the build on this Chevelle. The body's on. We did put the spark plug covers on. You can see there. I've got the booster master sitting up here in place. I've got to do some checking on my rod to make sure it clears. We did put a rod through there to see if it would fit. So that's going to be pretty much it. We got it all knocked out close enough. Of course, once I get the quarter panel cut and the door over there fit better, this door's fitting good, get that one fit better, I'll go ahead and put the fenders on, core support, hood, and get everything lined up from there forward. And then I can start kind of working everything where it needs to be worked, fix the quarter panels in the back, and then I can start working on the body. But that's going to be it for the video. Hope everybody enjoyed it. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and check out my other videos. There's over 300 on the channel. Also check out the playlists, and you can see things like this car right over here that we've been working on, and some others that we've been working on. I got the other one down there at the other shop, the body, 67 body. But that's going to be it, guys. Thanks for the view. It's free. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section.